Right. Right. Without constitution is impossible.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Huh. Interesting. So you have to change the
For
constitution.
example, the prisoners, right? Prisoners
Mm-hmm.
in Brazil, they can't work if uh, they don't know. But in America, they have to work.
Right. Yeah, they're like slaves. They're pretty much slaves in America. But here they work if they want to, right?
Yes.
If they want to. There, I think that you don't have to work there either. But if you don't work, then I mean, what's the point of not working? You're there. At least you're making some money. Very little. You get paid like $1 something, $1 per hour, but you're still making some money for you to get stuff inside of prison. You're reducing your time. So what's the point of not working, right? You could learn a profession there. Some people do learn a profession there. You know, so if you have your head straight there, usually people work, but here people don't work, right? In prisons here.
Because também, sorry, because don't have work to everybody,
Uh,
and and how can I say? Let me see. Um, that's it. Don't have work, and uh, the major of the prisoners are in criminal groups.
mm, oh.
So how can I say facção? Facções in English.
I would call it gang. It's like a gang.
Gang, yes, that's it. And they don't want to work. They want to live for crime.
Right. They don't want to work. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
I
It's
think it's important to work. They would to be able to pay your
there. Paid there.
yeah they would to be able to pay your, how can
There.
I say, estadia.
They're staying. They're
Yes,
staying there. Okay. Yeah, that I mean, that's a good idea. I don't know why they don't put into place, you know. The new president said he was gonna do that. He was gonna make
that's
prisoners
impossible.
pay. It's unconstitutional.
Yes, totally.
Okay. The word, before I forget the word, that the deal that lawyers and prosecutors do is called plea deal. Plea, I
Plea
don't know.
deal.
Plea deal. Yeah, they do it all the time. I put it in the chat there. Can you see the chat, or are you using your?
Yes,
You can. It's
yes,
called plea deal. It's like when um, you don't have to go to trial. You know, like for example, a guy committed a crime, and then he's arrested. Okay, so he gets a lawyer, and then the prosecutor wants to prosecute him, wants to put him in jail for like 10 years. And then the lawyer doesn't want him in jail. So they go, they talk, and they come up with a deal. It's called a plea deal. Well, when he admits that he committed a crime, and he gets less time. Instead of 10 years, he's gonna stay for 1 year or 2. So it's good for everybody. It's good for the lawyer, because the lawyer, oh, you're gonna get 10 years, you're only getting 2. It's good for you. It's good for the prosecutor, because the prosecutor says, okay, he admitted that I made him admit that he committed a crime. It's good for the judge, because the judge doesn't have to work much. Like they get together in a meeting. It's like, okay, all right, that's what you want. Fine, I'll just sign it. And it's only, I mean, it's if you committed a crime, that's good. But what about if you didn't? And a lot of people, lawyers that make innocent people sign a lot of these plea deals because it's just easy work, you know, instead of, you're a lawyer, you know, instead of you have to make a whole defense tactic, you know, a strategy, you have to create a whole strategy to defend that guy and all that. The lawyer just says, look, prosecutors, they want to put you away from 10 years. So 2 years is good for you. And then the guy is going to trust the lawyer. And then he's like, but I didn't commit any crime. And then the lawyer's going to say, yeah, I know, but they're going to find a way to put you in jail. And then it becomes a business. It's called plea deal. And I think a plea bargain is the equivalent of our, how do you call, when you, delação premiada. I think so, I'm not sure, but plea bargain is the equivalent of delação premiada, where you tattletale people, you tell who committed other crimes, and then you get your sentence reduced or even eliminated if your information is good. It's a good information, you know. So crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Like judicial system is crazy, you know. Anyway, anyway. But let's see how it goes. Let's see. And yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this situation. Look at this image. Look at this image. Do you remember when Lady Gaga wore that dress, that meat dress? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
I think it's like what, 10 years? No, not 10 years ago. Maybe 5 years, right? 7 years ago. She wore that meat dress. So what do you think her intentions were? What would have been her intentions?
I think she's vegan and she was trying to show the people how bad is meat is eat meat.
Is eating meat, right? So
Yes.
do you think she wanted to shock her audience wearing
Yes.
meat dress? Maybe, right? Maybe there's a good chance that she wanted to do that. How about Bjork? Bjork, do you remember when Bjork wore like a duck? No, it's a goose. It's a goose dress. Do you remember that?
Actually, I don't. I don't know who is she.
She's a singer. She's a singer.
Oh,
I think she's like, she's from the 2000s, maybe, Bjork. And she went to
I've never heard about her.
Never heard about her. Yeah, her music, her songs are strange. Anyway, she was wearing a goose dress and she laid an egg. Do you see that she laid an egg on the red carpet? What do you think?
So,
You don't see a leg? You don't see an egg? She's holding an egg like this.
oh, yes.
She laid an egg on the red carpet. So, crazy. Really? Yeah. So, what do you think her intentions were? What do you think with that?
And something about the bad, how can I say maus tratos in English?
Oh man, you got me. Animal
Violence, animal violence. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a specific word for it. Animal. Oh man, I forgot now. Animal. There's a specific word for that. Animal cruelty.
Yes.
Animal cruelty, right? So
yes.
You think she was trying to raise awareness of animal cruelty?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Do you know any other artist who has used some shocking or surprise marketing strategy? Can you remember anybody? It doesn't have to be an artist. Anybody actually that is trying to surprise people like with some crazy stuff. For example, do you think our president are being a marketer? Do you think this is all marketing, what he's doing, the things he say?
Of course, all the time.
You think this is a game? He's playing a game to divert people's uh, thoughts, and then he can do other things. Do you think that is?
You need to read Machiavelli.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you know about it?
Yeah, I admit that is a flaw that I have. I haven't read that book, and it's a big flaw. Everyone says that is a great book. You said that it's boring, though. You said that it's boring.
Some parts, but the you can how can I say? You can look in the other form. You know.
So do you think he's playing by the book? Do you think he's playing by the prince, the book, The Prince? Everything he does, it's in the book, like the way he
Some
does.
things. Some
Something.
things. Because it's an old book, and we need uh, to use the present form.
Okay, okay. I know an interesting story though. I don't know if you're going to confirm. I heard this story came from the book The Prince when he sent a governor. He sent a guy, like there was a riot. People were like stealing, doing bad stuff in a city in Italy. And then he sent this guy. He's a very cruel guy, and he goes there and mistreat people and kill people and does whatever he wants, and then people start to revolt against him. So someone goes and tells him about the situation, that people are revolting against the governor, against the mayor, whatever, because he's being very cruel to the people. And he went there, he sent the guy there to be cruel, to put people in order, put the city in order. So a messenger goes and tells him that this is happening. So this is what he does. He goes there, kills the governor, and tells the people he sent the governor to take good care of them, not to mistreat them. So what happened? He became the good guy. Everyone thinks he's a good guy now. And the people that were like acting crazy, doing a lot of robbery, doing a lot of crazy stuff, now they respect him. They don't do bad things anymore. Do you remember that part of the book?
Not really,
I
but there is something like it.
I read that story. I read about this story a long time ago. But anyway,
I think that's not true.
not true. Okay, all right. I have to read for myself. I have to read for myself to see what is up with that. So tell me, anyone you know, anyone famous is doing something shocking or surprising for
Mm,
market? Do you think, for example, what Moro did was for a marketing strategy?
of course,
You think he wants to capitalize on what he did? He wants
yes.
he wants some. What do you think he wants?
I think he wants to be president.
He wants to be president?
Now I think it, but
You don't know for sure.
yes.
Okay. Cool, cool. All right, anybody else? Anybody else you can think of?
Mm, let me see. I don't know. A lot of uh, singers, as Michael Jackson, Axl Rose.
They used to do crazy stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool, cool. All right. All right. So Let's go ahead and let's go to our book now. Let's go to our book. Let's go to our book to page, let me tell you here. Page 14, okay?
14?
No, I'm sorry. Page 80. Page 80, activity 14, okay?
Okay.
We're going to listen to part of an interview with a singer called Snow, and you need to answer this question, okay? Is she an average singer, or is there something different about her? That's all you need to worry about right now, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let me go ahead and get...
What's average?
Average, média. In this case, she's an average singer, uma cantora mediana.
Oh.
She's an average singer. All right. What's the track 25, right?
Yes, 25.
Unit 6, Activity 14A. So is Snow your real name?
Yes, it is. Don't laugh, okay? My full name is Snowfall Ellsworth.
That is definitely a different name. Does it have a story behind it?
Yes. My parents had an alternative lifestyle in Colorado. They met and fell in love in wintertime, and they decided that their first kid would be called Snowfall to remind them of the time they met.
That's a beautiful story.
A bit cheesy, but beautiful.
And how have you decided to become a singer?
Well, I've always been into arts, you know. We live up in the mountains in Colorado, so we always kept the family entertained by singing and performing little acts. Since I was a kid, I realized I loved doing that. So one thing led to another, and here I am.
When did you start singing professionally?
When I was in college. I used to sing at a bar to get some money. It was a lot of fun. Suddenly I was doing what I loved, and people were actually giving me money to do that.
Were you already dressing up as Snow White at that time?
No, not really. That happened sometime later.
How did that start?
Well, first, I've always liked the fairy tale. My dad used to say I was his little Snow White as I resembled her. No wonder that used to be my favorite story when I was a kid. When I decided to drop out of college and take up singing professionally, my manager, Craig Brown, came up with the idea, and I loved it. Ever since, I've taken on the role.
How do you see the contrast between the character and the kind of music you make?
They may seem paradoxically different, but I think that they have a lot in common, you know. Heavy metal is about freedom and releasing your rage to purify your soul. Snow White's tale is also about purity, rage, and freedom. So I think it's a wonderful combination.
There's been a lot of controversy about your shows and your performances on stage. Do you conceive them yourself? And if you do, where do you find inspiration for those performances?
Yes, they are all my creations. Well, people have always said I'm very creative, and I guess I really am. So I keep imagining how the characters in the story would act in different situations if they released their anger. One of my favorite gigs is when Snow White goes mental and kills Stepmother. Another one I particularly like is when the dwarfs, my dancers, get enraged with me and decide to torture me. The scene is aesthetically very beautiful and goes perfectly with the song Tortured.
Some people claim that some of these gigs are rather brutal. How do you see that?
Well, as I said before, heavy metal is about letting your rage out, so it makes perfect sense what we do on stage. The combination of brutality and music aims at getting people out of this state of numbness society conditions us to be in. So it's not brutality for the sake of brutality.
Okay, now let's switch to your personal life. Are you...
All right. So, what is unconventional about her? What is different about her?
Her name.
Her name? Yeah, her name is different, right? Snow. Crazy name, right?
Snowfall. I don't know.
Yeah, she said it. I don't remember. It's Snow something, right? But
Yeah.
what else? What else? There are more stuff that is different, that is unconventional, that is not average about her. What else do you find that is unconventional, that is different, that is she's not average?
She sing heavy metal, right?
She sings heavy metal, but how does she sing heavy metal? She does something
Actually,
different.
I don't know.
She does something different. Look, let me see if I get the part where she talks about the way she dresses. She dresses differently.
Unit 6, Activity 14A.
So is Snow your real name?
Yes, it is. Don't laugh, okay? My full name is Snowfall Ellsworth.
That is definitely a different name. Does it have a story behind it?
Yes. My parents had an alternative lifestyle in Colorado. They met and fell in love in wintertime, and they decided that their first kid would be called Snowfall to remind them of the time they met.
That's a beautiful story.
A bit cheesy, but beautiful.
And how have you decided to become a singer?
Well, I've always been into arts, you know. We live up in the mountains in Colorado, so we always kept the family entertained by singing and performing little acts. Since I was a kid, I realized I loved doing that. So one thing led to another, and here I am.
When did you start singing professionally?
When I was in college, I used to sing at a bar to get some money. It was a lot of fun. Suddenly, I was doing what I loved, and people were actually giving me money to do that.
Were you already dressing up as Snow White at that time?
No, not really. That happened sometime later.
How did that start?
Well, first, I've always liked the fairy tale. My dad used to say I was his little Snow White as I resembled her. No wonder that used to be my favorite story when I was a kid. When I decided to drop out of college and take up singing professionally, my manager, Craig Brown, came up with the idea, and I loved it. Ever since, I've taken on the role.
So, what is different about her?
She dresses Snow White.
She dresses like Snow White when she's on stage playing. You see,
Oh,
there's even the image of her here eating an apple and
yes.
and dying and poison.
Oh, Snow White is the princess, right?
Yeah, Snow White.
I get it now.
Snow White. Yeah, man. Okay, that's the princess. So it's Snowfall. That's her name, right? Snowfall is her name. And when she's performing on stage, she dresses like Snow White. And there's even an image of her eating an apple and dying, poisoned.
And
Right?
singing heavy metal.
Heavy metal, dressed like Snow White. Crazy stuff, huh?
Yes.
Who would have thought, huh? Crazy stuff. Okay. All right. Let's move on here. Okay. Sure. She's not because it doesn't her shows. What happened in performance? So is Snow her real name? Is Snow
Yes.
her real name? Snowflake, right? Does it have a story behind? Do you remember the story why she called Snowflake? It's not Snowflake, Snowfall.
Snowfall, yes. She lived in Colorado, right?
Okay.
And her parents, I don't know. Actually, I don't remember.
You
I
don't
don't
remember?
remember why.
You don't only remember what?
Why?
Why? Okay. So, okay. So you don't remember the story, right? Okay. How have her decided to become a singer? Do you remember how? Why?
She started to sing at school
Okay.
or college or school, I don't know. And after that, she started to sing in the bars to get money.
Right. But
So
before that, before college, she started singing as well for something, for a reason. Right? Do you remember? No?
no,
Okay. All right. We're gonna listen again. When did she start singing professionally?
at school,
At school? What school?
yes,
What school? High school? College?
college. I think it was college.
College. What did she do to start singing professionally? Do you remember?
She started to sing at bars.
Okay. And then what? And then what happened? Did she finish college?
I don't know.
Don't remember? Okay. Was she already dressing up as Snow White at the time when she started singing professionally? Do you remember? As,
When he is what?
as soon as she started already dressing like Snow White, or do you think
No.
it came later?
Was
When?
idea of her manager, right?
A manager, yeah, gave her
Something
the idea.
Brown.
Great.
Something Brown, his name.
I don't remember the name. I don't remember, but we're gonna listen in. How did that start? You explained it. The manager, right? How do you see the contrast between the character and the kind of music she makes? What's the
Very different, right?
right? A lot of contrast, right? She's like,
Because he has she looked like a princess, but she sing heavy metal, so
and she dresses like a princess, and then she rock and roll, right?
yes.
Crazy stuff. Stupid question. Doesn't make any sense. Where do you find inspiration? Where do you find inspiration? Where does she find inspiration for her performances?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I need to listen again.
Need to listen again. Okay. All right, that's it. Okay. Do you see that? How do you see that? No, never mind. Let's go back and listen one more time. I'm gonna leave it here. Hold on one second. Let me leave. Oh, I can't. I either do this. Okay, let's start over. Let's listen and try to answer. Can you see those questions? Can you see these questions?
No.
No? Oh, man. Let me see. Let me start and then I'll make it bigger. Okay, let's see if it works.
Unit 6, Activity 14A.
So is Snow your real name?
Yes, it is. Don't laugh, okay? My full name is Snowfall Ellsworth.
That is definitely a different name. Does it have a story behind it?
Yes. My parents had an alternative lifestyle in Colorado. They met and fell in love in wintertime, and they decided that their first kid would be called Snowfall to remind them of the time they met.
That's a beautiful story.
A bit cheesy, but beautiful.
And how have you decided to become a singer?
Well, I've always been into arts, you know. We live up in the mountains in Colorado, so we always kept the family entertained by singing and performing little acts. Since I was a kid, I realized I loved doing that. So one thing led to another, and here I am.
When did you start singing professionally?
When I was in college. I used to sing at a bar to get some money. It was a lot of fun. Suddenly, I was doing what I loved, and people were actually giving me money to do that.
Were you already dressing up as Snow White at that time?
No, not really. That happened sometime later.
How did that start?
Well, first, I've always liked the fairy tale. My dad used to say I was his little Snow White as I resembled her. No wonder that used to be my favorite story when I was a kid. When I decided to drop out of college and take up singing professionally, my manager, Craig Brown, came up with the idea, and I loved it. Ever since, I've taken on the role.
How do you see the contrast between the character and the kind of music you make?
They may seem paradoxically different, but I think that they have a lot in common, you know. Heavy metal is about freedom and releasing your rage to purify your soul. Snow White's tale is also about purity, rage, and freedom. So I think it's a wonderful combination.
There's been a lot of controversy about your shows and your performances on stage. Do you conceive them yourself? And if you do, where do you find inspiration for those performances?
Yes, they are all my creations. Well, people have always said I'm very creative, and I guess I really am. So I keep imagining how the characters in the story would act in different situations if they released their anger. One of my favorite gigs is when Snow White goes mental and kills stepmother. Another one I particularly like is when the dwarfs, my dancers, get enraged with me and decide to torture me. The scene is aesthetically very beautiful and goes perfectly with the song Tortured.
Some people claim that some of these gigs are rather brutal. How do you see that?
Well, as I said before, heavy metal is about letting your rage out, so it makes perfect sense what we do on stage. The combination of brutality and music aims at getting people out of this state of numbness society conditions us to be in. So it's not brutality for the sake of brutality.
Okay, now let's switch to your personal life. Are you...
Okay, so now do you remember those questions? Do you remember the answers?
Yeah, just some answers.
All right. Would you go to a Snow White concert if you had a chance to go? Not Snow White. I keep saying Snow White. Snowfall. Would you go to one of Snow's concert?
Yes, yes. Why not?
Why not? I like rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay to use brutality? Do you remember when she mentions that Snow White goes insane and kills her stepmother?
Yes.
And another time she says the dwarfs, her dancers, go crazy and they torture her. Do you think it's okay to use brutality in concerts, in shows?
Yes.
It's
Free
okay.
expression, man.
Freedom of speech, right?
Yes.
There it is. There. Talking about freedom of speech, did you see that Trump said he's gonna do harm to Twitter because Twitter and Facebook are like controlling?
Yes.
Because no, it's not controlling, but Twitter has a new icon that tells you if the information is accurate or not. And then when Trump tweets, like Twitter showed that the information is not accurate. So he's saying he's going after it. What do you think about this? Do you think Trump is right? Trump is wrong? Who is Twitter's wrong?
Actually, I agree with Trump in this case because they can't do this, man. They are so selective, you know, with the other parts, other politicians, right?
Other spectrum, the other
Yeah,
spectrum of politics.
they don't do this.
So you think Twitter is biased? Biased, this word right here. Bias. Oh, biased. Okay, biased is when you goes more for one side than the other.
Yes,
Oh, okay. All right.
that is, how can I say, that is absolutely true. They are biased.
They are biased. Biased. Twitter, Facebook, all the big ones, the social media, the big social media. Okay. All right, man. Cool, cool. All right. Snow. Okay, let's go back to our book now. Actually, let's go back to our book. All right. So, we did this activity already. So, Snow is telling a friend of hers the questions she reported asked her. So, study these sentences right here. Remember, we were talking about reported speech last class? Remember that? Do you remember reported speech? You don't remember?
No.
Really? Reported speech? He said she said, he asked. You
Oh, yes.
reporter speech, when you're telling something that someone said. Okay? All right. So check the best option. To report WH questions, the verb in the direct questions goes to the affirmative form or remains in the interrogative form. Okay, so if I want to use a question, transform a question into indirect speech. For example, is Snow your real name? How do you put that into indirect speech, into reported speech? How do you transform that?
Is Snow your real name?
No, you're repeating the same question. I want you to transform a
Could
question.
you repeat the question, please?
Sure. It's the first question. It's in your book. It's in your book. Activity B. Look at activity B. Activity B, page 85. Okay? Page 85. Activity B. The first question is Snow your real name? It's a question, right?
Oh, yes.
So let's say you want to tell me what the reporter asked Snow. Okay, the reporter, he said, is Snow your real name to Snow? And you want to tell me what the reporter says. How do you transform that into direct speech?
What is your real name?
You have to start by he said, or he not said, but asked. He asked or she asked what was her real name, right? He asked what was her real name.
Hello.
Okay?
Yes.
Just one second. Just one second. Hold on one second. I can't talk. The next one, does it have a good story behind it? Does it have a good story behind it? So he asked what? What do you have to use? How do you transform that into a reported speech, into a indirect speech? Look, you have to use, you always use, let me open another screen here. Okay. Let me.
Could you give me another example?
Sure. I'm going to give you right now. I'm trying to find space here. Well, you have your book with you, right? Oh man.
Yes.
I'm trying to find space here. Look at the second one. Does it have a story behind it? Look at the second question. Okay, so he asked if she had, that's because I don't have my book with me. It doesn't have a story. If she had a story behind it. Okay. Hold on one second, okay? Because I need to, they're gonna cut my internet right now, so I need to just make sure we're gonna stay here. All right, let me just switch it to my phone. Let me switch it to my phone. This way, we're not gonna get disconnected. Okay. All right.
No
So,
problem.
all right. So I hope you're good now. So look at the second question. Look at the second question right here. Does it have a good story behind it? If you want to transform that into indirect speech, you have to start off with he asked. He asked if she had a good story behind it. Next one, how old are you? How old are you? How do you transform that into indirect speech?
He asked, how old are her?
How old she was.
She was.
How old she was.
Why
Yeah.
was?
Because it's in the past.
Oh, yes.
What if
course.
that interview happened 6 months ago, 1 year ago? You know, so we have to put in the past form. Okay. Next one.
Okay.
How have you decided to become a singer? Now, how do we form the indirect speech? He asked.
How she decided.
Pay attention to the verb tense. How have you? How have you?
How she had.
How had she?
Oh, yes, yes,
decided?
man, yes.
Because it's present perfect, past perfect. How had she decided to
Become a singer.
singer? Okay. How about the next one?
I got it now.
You get it now? Let's do it together. The next one. He asked. The question is, when did you start singing professionally?
When had she?
She had. In this
She
case,
had.
yeah, because it's not present perfect. Okay, she had started. When did you start? When she had started singing professionally. Okay, this one right here, this one right here, this one right here. Oh, shoot. Oh, come on. Why can't I use this? I'm trying to. Anyway, this one, when did you, this is past simple, remember? This is past simple. This is not past perfect. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This one, who have you already duetted with? Who have you already duetted with? This is present perfect. So when you transform into past perfect. So he asked, who had she already duetted with? Okay.
Okay.
How did that start? Look, this is simple past. He asked how she had started. Okay.
Okay.
I know it's a little confusing. I know it's a little confusing, but the main thing is when you start with sentence, a question, with WH question, and you put into the direct question, what do? It goes to the affirmative form or remains the interrogative form? What do you think it happens?
The affirmative form.
Goes to the
Right.
affirmative form. That's right. And to report yes or no questions, we need to add what? WH word or the word if it starts with the verb.
If.
With if, right? So for example, if I ask, Plinio, are you a lawyer? Are you a lawyer? Then someone can come to me and said, Teacher Leo asked if
If.
Plinio is a lawyer. In this case, it is because you were a lawyer and you still is a lawyer. But you could also say, Teacher Leo asked if Plinio was a lawyer. I think the more correct way to say if Plinio was a lawyer. And then, so you need to use every time. Actually, it sounds better. It's better if you think every time you start a question with a verb, either auxiliary verb or verb to be, you use if to transform into direct speech. Okay? If it starts with the WH question, it remains the WH question, but instead of the interrogative form, becomes affirmative form. So if I say, how old are you, Plinio? Someone's going to say, Teacher Leo asked how old Plinio was. Okay? Or how old
Okay.
he is, if you know. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's a little complicated, but now let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do only these sentences right here. Only this ones right here. On this side right here. Transform into reported speech. Okay?
What's the sentence?
This one's right here. In activity B. Activity B. We did it this half, right? We did one half. Let's do the other half now. You can do the other half.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute, please.
Sure. You need a pen? You need a pen?
Oh, activity C, right?
Activity C, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But you don't have to do everything. Just do the second half. Otherwise, it's going to take
Okay.
too long. It's going to be too much time, you know?
Okay.
Do you want to listen to something while we do it?
No, I
Not
need
really.
to be,
Concentrate.
yes.
Okay. All right. Take your time, man. No problem. No problem at all. I'm here, okay?
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm here. That's because there's a cable guy here in my house fixing the internet. And I had to. It's not an easy task, man. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right, let's check it out.
I think it's everything wrong, but I tried.
Come on, man. Come on. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in yourself. I don't even. Anyway. All right. The first one. How did that start?
He asked how she started,
How she started. Very good. How
right?
yeah.
That's
How
right.
she started. Yeah.
Okay.
Who designs your outfits?
He asked who designs she outfits?
Her outfits. Outfits.
Okay.
Okay. How do you see the contrast between the character and the kind of music you make?
He asked how she saw the contrasts between the characters and the kind of music you make.
She makes.
She makes.
She makes.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay.
All right. Next one. Do you conceive them yourself?
He asked if she concede what?
Conceive.
Conceived herself.
Conceive them herself. Conceive them herself. What inspires you?
He asked what inspired she?
Her.
Her?
Yeah, what inspired her?
Oh, yes.
She, remember this, remember, she is when is the subject of the sentence. When is the object, then it's always her. It's always the object pronoun. That's why it's called object pronoun. Where do you find inspiration for those performances?
He asked where she found inspiration for choose performances.
I'm sorry, can you repeat again? He asked
where she found inspiration for choose performances.
For those performances, yes.
Those.
Where she found, in this case, where she found, because it's the object, I'm sorry, subject of the sentence, sujeito da frase, okay? How do you see that?
He asked how she saw that.
How she saw that. Very good, very good. See, man. See, have some faith in yourself, man.
Okay.
All right. All right, let's go ahead and check this last activity out, okay? Just a process writing. I'm gonna send this as a homework, but let's do just this first part right here, okay? Remember that that text about Johnny Depp? Remember that he was on a set, he almost died, he had near-death incident. Remember that?
Yes.
That is on page 78. Let's go to page 79, okay? Page 79. All right, so I'd like you to now tell me, you have three parts of a text here. You have the detailed description of the event, three parts. Are you there? Page 79, activity 11?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So you have the first one part is about the detailed description of the event. The second part is the summary of the event. What, where, when, and who. And another part is the comments, actions taken. Comments and action taken. Okay? I needed to go back into that text and tell me paragraph 1 refers to what? Paragraph 2 and 3 refers to what? And paragraph 4.
Okay.
You need to decide which paragraph refers to which process of the text. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. I think I can send that as a homework actually, because it's gonna take a while. I need to read all over again. Okay? So activity A, activity B. Okay.
A and B?
A and B. Where
for homework, right?
Yeah. Where could this kind of text be found? Well, we're gonna do it together here. where can you find this type of text? How do you call that text, by the way? It's, what kind of text is that? What do you think?
That's a story.
It's yeah, it tells a story, but it's more called an article. It's an article.
Article. Really?
Yeah, it's an article. Okay. What are the main
In Portuguese is a narrativa.
where?
In
Where?
Portuguese is a narrativa.
Narrativa? It's a narrativa?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about facts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But it's a, I know that in English is an article because someone is telling the story, you know? I don't know. It's not
Oh,
Johnny
yes.
Depp telling the story, somebody
Yes,
else
yes.
telling the story, you know? So
Yes.
I don't know if narrativa is this. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, so what kind of language is used in that article? Is it formal language or informal? What's your opinion? What do you think?
Informal.
Informal? It's semi-formal, right? Semi-formal. Sometimes a little, it's not too informal. It's a little bit
Yes.
informal, but not too informal. What are the verb tenses that predominate in that story, in that text? Do you remember the verb tense?
Actually, I don't.
Well, it's telling a story, right? If it's telling a story, usually the story is in the
Past.
past. So if you look again in the text, it's going to predominate past tense, simple past, and past continuous. That's the predominance, okay? So you're gonna do, so activity B is already done. You already did it together, activity B. It's just for you to understand the whole thing, okay? So you're gonna do activity A and activity C, okay? So you're going,
Okay.
you're not gonna talk to your classmate because you don't have classmates anymore, right? So you're going to write, and then we're gonna discuss next class what happened, what may have happened, not what happened, but what may have happened to the people in these pictures. Okay?
Okay.
And then that's it. All right. Let me